So I threw this out there because a few people heard me make the statement that when Juniper bought White Sand, which was a cloud NAC provider, I was excited about that. That was like one of the most exciting acquisitions that I had seen recently. And people really started to push back on me and say, can we really trust cloud NAC? And I was trying to get to the bottom of why are people continuing to ask me this question. And apparently you all have a very different experience with NAC than I do. And so I want to talk through that a little bit. Very quickly, I'm Jonathan Davis. I go by JD. I do work for Juniper Networks. There will be a little bit of Juniper stuff in there. I work for marketing. You can't, it's part of the job. But this is really more a discussion around what we do currently in NAC and and how that changes in the cloud. I want to be clear on that. And apparently my remote has decided not to work. So there, if you want to connect with me, I'm going to give you like 3 seconds to take a picture of that so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can find it on the video later. Excuse me. So can we trust cloud NAC? When that question gets asked, I think what we're really asking is, can we trust that it's going to be available? Is it going to stay up? Is it going to be accessible by our users when they need it? And is there integrity? Can we trust that our frame exchanges, that everything that's going on is going to take place in a manner that is secure, right? Because we're ultimately talking about a security product. And so these, I think, are ultimately, when people were asking me, can we trust it? This is what they were really trying to get to the bottom of. That is not going to work. So let's talk for just a second about on-premises system availability. When we think about it, we traditionally follow this map that you see there. And when we really think, we kind of have started putting all of these systems in place because we want to ensure that everything stays up. But we also, as we do that, we increase complexity. So our NAC software runs on top of an OS, that runs on top of a hypervisor, that runs on physical host, that relies on SAN storage, a data center network, and generally WAN connectivity to our remote sites. All of those kind of get baked into our requirements for NAC to work. But of course, really, this doesn't provide everything we need. So what we end up doing is we double it, right? Because we need high availability. We need this in geodiverse locations, inside of our enterprise. And each of these require budget, a lot of budget, man hours, updates, and resource management, and so much licensing. How many of you are dealing with the Broadcom, the ESXi craziness? Good grief! That kind of really throws a major problem into a lot of our IT offices that we're going to have to deal with. If we actually begin considering the actual NAC solutions, most organizations end up having to pay for professional services and support to actually get it running, and then extensive training and expertise to really manage it in a way that we can keep it secure. And all of that with this understanding that a basic misconfiguration doesn't break security. It may not break security, that we spent all of that money to create. I actually, while working for a large manufacturer, we did an upgrade on a NAC product. It was, I think, 38 hours long in total to make it happen. We have it complete. Everything seems to be working. We leave. We come back 3 days later, happy that everything's working. We've not had a single complaint. And that was when we realized that we had a service list order change that meant that every person who could sign on to Wi-Fi could also sign into every one of our network devices. That was not a change we made. That was a change that occurred during the upgrade. And this is kind of the fragility that's built into a lot of the NAC products that are out there. In fact, in our boot camp, we were having kind of a conversation around NAC, and I asked people to describe their NACs, and fragile was one of the words that was thrown out. And when we talk about, again, the product that's responsible for protecting our network, that's an issue. So accessibility. If your campus has on-premise NAC and your system accessibility is probably likely highest as long as you have the availability issues worked out, right? As soon as you have multiple options, then the question becomes, well, are you going to deploy it in multiple places? You're not going to deploy it everywhere because no one has that much money for licensing and everything that's required, all of the infrastructure that's required to run it in every site. So now it becomes reliant on your WAN connections. And so now your failure domain for it also includes your WAN team, your WAN hardware and software, their vendors, their software updates, and of course your service provider. So now we have even one more level of issues that can potentially arise that can affect whether or not basic network access is served. And then of course integrity. I've got a little fill in the blank. If you were in the boot camp, I really want to hear you yell this out. In traditional environments, 802.1x authentication traverses the air as what? EPO over LAN, EPOL, right? So EPOL. So it then hits the wire and it's sent as what? Radius. And radius is secure, right? You guys read ahead. I'm so happy you know that. It is a stateless protocol and it runs across UDP, it relies on MD5 encryption, and is vulnerable to both offline and replay attacks. And again, this is what we rely on. So the real question is can you trust your on-premises NAC solution? I think that's the way most of us feel. So when people were asking me that question, can you trust cloud? I was a little bit taken aback by it, because my feeling is I don't think we can trust our on-premises NAC solutions. So let's look at what questions should we be asking if we say this, it's already broken, we're interested in looking at a cloud-based NAC solution. What questions should we be asking? Well, first of all, what does the architecture look like? Do we have, is it microservices based? You'll hear Juniper talk about this a lot, but you're seeing other vendors begin the discussion as well. Microservices means that we can be highly resilient. We can spin up processes as they're needed. We can shut those processes down, and the end user does not have a service impact because of that. How often are updates, features, and mitigations added? Let me ask a question. How many people update your NAC monthly? About twice a month. Right. That's what we can do in a microservices environment. That's what we can do when we have the appropriate architecture in place, and we can do that without a single change window for you. How many of you would like to go before your change review board and go, I'm not passing any more cab requests for NAC? That would be kind of nice, right? Do you need to schedule an outage just because your vendor says they have an outage? This is an important question to ask, because some vendors will have 6 and 8 hour outages that they will send an email out and go, this date, that's your outage, make it happen, right? And you're now running before your review board going, I have an emergency change that I have to get approved, and if you don't approve it, it doesn't matter, it's happening anyways. Do you have RADSEC to ensure security information is passed securely, right? So this is how we fix the radius issue. We pass everything in RADSEC. It's TLS. It's TCP. So now we actually have what we need to make that secure. And do they have direct connectivity to your cloud-based directory, or are you having to again add additional layers of additional layers of extraction to make that connection happen? Is it geodiverse? Can it respect data sovereignty and GDPR where it needs to? Can you ensure that you have that connectivity even if Amazon East happens to have issues, right, as we've seen in the past? Come on. There we go. Can we verify and validate the user experience, right? How can we do that effectively and trust it? Can we validate a device experience? Can we validate a user experience and do that independently? And how long does it take to do that? Because ultimately, if our cloud Radius or cloud NAC solution isn't providing this, isn't making this really easy, if you're still searching through logs and doing regex trying to find that error that you're looking for, you're doing life wrong. And there we go. So again, these are some questions that you'll want to consider when you're evaluating. I will, again, I work in marketing. You can't blame me for at least giving you guys just a brief look at what some of our customers are saying about our solution. We have a large global contact center. It said after years of challenges with over 30 iServers around the world, Access Assurance provided an easy button to onboard all company managed assets along with native Azure integration. I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you have a great WLPC. I'm happy to be here and happy to see your faces. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me afterwards. Thank you.